Oh, where are my manners? My name is Argent. I'm an archaeologist. And the lady with me is Fia, my assistant.
All right, hello. This is Elman Dean, the director and writer for Godshard Chronicles, a new upcoming action RPG. And with me today is John Truitt, who is the voice of Ghaleon for the Lunar series. So, hello, John. Nice that you can make it. Glad to have you on.
Thanks, Elman. Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. So, to get started, could you tell us how did you get into acting?
How did I get into acting? Well, I think that in all of our jobs and in all of our lives, we're always acting just a little bit from the time that we have to pretend that we're interested in our grammar school classrooms, right on through life in general. But as far as being on stage, I got on stage a couple of times when I was in high school. Did a production when I was in college. Sort of banged around with a couple of community and regional theaters. Did a couple of commercials, couple of voices for radio spots, and then basically met Victor and started doing voices. Victor had put out there that he was looking for a specific type of character, someone that had a certain type of voice. He was looking for a certain very specific kind of character that had some different traits. And I guess while he was asking around, somebody said, maybe you should call up this guy. His name is John Truitt. He's done some work in front of a camera, on stage, on radio. I think that he might be what you're looking for.
Oh, really? And then he contacted you just from a couple of recommendations?
Yeah, he called me up. And, we talked a little about the character, and the character sounded interesting and kind of fun. And I had some free time. And so I went down there, did a couple of recordings, and we both agreed that it'd be a fun thing. And I like Victor an awful lot. Victor is one of the funniest people on the planet. And so it was really a pleasure to do that job.
So when you were introduced to it, what did he show you about the character? Did you see some the animated clips and such? You got a script. I mean, what was that all about?
I saw the first draft of the script, and I saw the animation. And at that time, Ashley Angel was already associated with the project, and I said, "This looks like fun. Let's do this."
Gotcha. So, and you said you saw the animation. I suppose you saw the Japanese voice acting at first before you.
I did.
Okay.
I did. But that really didn't. I don't speak Japanese, but that didn't really. The tone and the attitude of the character really didn't inform me. I was mostly interested in the script and in the visuals.
Gotcha. Yeah, because your Ghaleon voice sounds much different to the Japanese voice actor, which actually, and I've played through both Japanese and English, and I prefer, your Ghaleon. I mean, no disrespect to the voice actor in Japanese did great, but in a way, you really made Ghaleon stand out above the rest of the villains that I've played in other RPGs and games and such. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that's partly a cultural thing. I mean, those of us that come from more of a European tradition have an attitude about how irony and sarcasm and snottiness, for lack of a better word, high rank, all of these things are supposed to sound because we're enculturated. And I'm sure that anytime that you hear something in a different language, particularly a different language family, that tonality and everything is gonna come across different based on the culture that you're from. But basically, I knew that the version that I was doing was for an American audience, and so there's a lot of tricks and stunts that you can do with your voice that sort of kind of give people a cue ahead of time about what your character is like.
So, taking that direction you went with Ghaleon, did you have any inkling the reception you would get about him from the fans?
Absolutely none. I had no No idea. I mean, I knew that the game was going to be fun. I knew that I was having a good time, but I think I underestimated how much people would enjoy it and how long it would last. So I'm very humbled by the experience.
Yeah, so I'll check out a couple of Facebook groups and there's the Reddit and such like that. And thanks to the Reddit, shout out to them. They were actually the ones who provided the Lunar Reddit provided many of our questions today that we'll get to soon. But one of the Facebook groups, occasionally they'll pop up Lunar over and over again. And of course the composer, especially Ghaleon, you as Ghaleon and such. And so to this day, it's brought up over and over again. And I think in a way that's games. I mean, compared to movies and film, games kind of have that more longevity.
I think that with movies and television shows, you're a passive viewer. So the relationship is really one way. There's an electronic device that is basically telling you a story, okay? And you sit there and you watch it, as opposed to games where it's interactive. I mean, quite literally. And so there are relationships that develop in there. You're an active part of it rather than just a passive witness to a story. You're an active part of the story. And so I think that that's what attaches people to these stories in a completely different way.
Exactly. I'm the same way. I like being an active participant. That's why I don't watch sports, because you're a passive. I'd rather be doing like something with sport, although I'm rubbish at sports. But I'd rather be the active participant than the passive one. So I get. So, do you still chat with Victor Ireland, or what's he up to today?
I haven't seen Victor for a while, but I understand he's doing quite well.
Okay, well, a couple of the fans asked, Lunar 3, did you ever have any conversations with Victor on Lunar 3 or anything after Lunar 2?
Sure. I mean, I had conversations with Victor. I'm not sure I understand.
The Sega CD, you had Lunar, the Silver Star, which was your first one,
Mhm.
and then you had Sega CD, Lunar, Eternal Blue.
Right.
And then the PlayStation came around, and then they had Lunar Silver Star Story, which you reprised Ghaleon's role, but you had actually a lot more lines, I believe, in that one. And then they retouched Lunar 2, Eternal Blue as well. And so I guess Lunar 3 was in development back, I think, right after Lunar 2, but they canceled it because Game Arts, well, no, Studio Alex, the one who made Lunar, and the publisher, and I might get corrected on this by the internet, but they had a falling out, and that's why Lunar 3 never saw the light of day. So,
wow, it shows that you know a lot more about the. I mean, you're a producer. You make these things. I mean, I don't really follow the ins and outs. If there's a script and there's a microphone and people are ready to go, that's when I'm in, and that's when I pay attention. As far as the business end of it, it's best for me to leave that to the bean counters and the producers like yourself.
hey, I might be out of it for as far as that goes. That some people might come on and say that's actually incorrect and all that. But going back to the studio, did you meet any of the other actors? You mentioned Ashley. I believe that was the person who played Alex, right?
Ashley Angel played Alex. Yeah, a couple of others. John Hawes played a role. Dean Williams, I met. A couple of other people whose names I can't remember, but I do know that it was a good and a fun group of people.
That's interesting because some of the other voice actors I've spoken to recently that done games like Dragon Quest 11 or Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they usually just go in a studio. They just record their lines, but many of them aren't meeting the other actors. So
I typically do the same thing. When we're recorded, it's just ourselves. But if you have a really crackerjack studio that's banging it out and making a good use of every time, you will cross with the other performers while one is exiting, you're entering. And if you have a couple of minutes while people are adjusting the mics, you can talk to each other.
gotcha. But at Working Designs, like you said, you were mentioning some of the names, so you actually got to meet them and talk to them and all that.
Yeah,
that's really cool. That's really cool. In a way, I think it kind of gets a little bit of camaraderie with the staff and such. But
absolutely. And Ashley was young at the time, but everybody knew just how immensely talented he was.
So, did you ever play through the Lunar games?
I have to admit, I've seen the games, but I'm not a very good player. and and so that I'm just not. I know what my strengths are. My strengths are in voices and playing characters. So I've definitely seen the games. I've seen people do really well at the games. But as far as playing the games, just like the business end, I leave that experience for the players.
Gotcha. Some of the other voice actors I've spoken with, they'll even say, "I'm not a gamer." They just go on to the next project.
Right.
They just put their soul into it and move on.
Yeah, and I'll let y'all in on a secret. I already know what the outcome is.
Yeah, I think that kind of ruins the, it was spoiled for you from the get-go, wasn't it?
Spoiler alert.
So after the first Lunar, you did Ghaleon, and it was for the Sega CD. What was your reaction when you were asked to come back for Lunar 2?
Oh, I was more than happy to. It was a fun character to play.
Were you surprised about coming back in?
No.
No, okay. I'll admit, and I don't want to spoil it. I was surprised to hear your voice when I was, I think I was 13 years old or maybe 14. I can't remember, but I was playing Lunar 2, and I heard your voice at the narration at the beginning, and I was like, that voice sounds familiar. And yeah, and yeah, because I saw your name in the credits, I believe, and I was really surprised and excited too. I kind of got my anticipation up for the rest of the game. So it was a huge deal, and that's actually what really glued me to Lunar 2. And then, of course, when you had the remakes on the PlayStation, I suppose you were pretty happy with those too, right?
Absolutely.
Now, and this is a reader question from Reddit. They came out with Lunar Silver Star Harmony. If I'm incorrect, I apologize. That game had an entirely new cast of voice actors. I believe it was published by XC, not Working Designs anymore. And one of the readers was asking, the new actor for Ghaleon was Troy Baker. And they asked, what was your take on it? I don't even know if you even heard it or not.
I haven't heard it, but I'm sure that that he did a fantastic job. That's a very professional group. They make good decisions. People make decisions all the time about how they want to make things. That's not up to me. That's up to whoever the creatives are that put that together. And I'm sure that they made the best decision with the information that they had. And I'm sure that he did a great job.
Gotcha. I think I've only heard a line or two myself from because I didn't play through Harmony much. I played through the intro and that was it. Just because these days I'm making games instead of playing games as much. So and you get busier as you get older. So but some other people said I was disappointed I didn't have Mr. Truitt as Ghaleon, but apparently the Japanese cast were changed too for that one. So it was not only the U.S. market or the North American market. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave out Canada and all that too. So let's see. We'll go ahead and take a quick break. And for the next part, we're going to go on to more of the Reddit questions. All right?
Okay.